All right, joining me on this week's episode, I have the one and only Cody D'Acquisto on the line. Cody, how we doing today?
Good, man. I'm pumped. We're here. We're finally doing it, man. We've been talking about this podcast for a few weeks, but what better time than right before we ring the bell, man, to
Yeah,
start the 2025 season.
dude, absolutely, man. We were just talking off air a little bit about, kind of plans for the season and places we want to go and everything. What's on your list for 2025 here?
Oh man. So 2025 is gonna be a feel out year. So I always I think we're all guilty of putting a little bit too much on our plate right off the bat, and we make
Mhm.
all these commitments. And I've been thinking a lot about how I used to do it when I was younger, and I would just like pick one spot, go to that spot, hone in for as long as it took, and then not even think about anything else after that. And it had its benefits. Sometimes it had its disadvantages, but um, it doesn't give you as much adventure, like I guess for getting out and exploring new areas and stuff. But it really does, I think, increase your odds of connecting. So I'm going to start a lot with that same mentality, and I got some farms here close to home that I got my eyes on that are easy to hunt as I work and I can get things done. And then I got a few pieces in the neighboring states, but usually I keep my focus close to home first, and then as tags get punched, I'll start to venture out, and then I'll just make a random call of where I can get over the counter. I do think next year I will preemptively like plan a couple trips, and now everything's going to so much stuff is going to draw now. Like
Mhm.
you
Right.
can't get an over the counter tag in Kansas anymore. You can't get one in North Dakota anymore. You can't get one in Nebraska anymore. Like it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that, but
Do you think that's
so
good or bad for deer hunting as a whole?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I know some of the states are not really like it's not even hard to draw. It's just the fact that you
Mhm.
have to now put in for a draw. So it really caps people, I think, in the season. Or but I couldn't tell you. I don't know if that's good for hunting or bad.
I'd be curious to see that, man. Just, yeah, like you said, with all the different changing regulations, and even not that it's hard to draw, but just having that extra barrier where it does maybe prevent people from, okay, I punched my tag early and now I'm going to jet out and do, you know, uh, a Nebraska trip or a Dakota trip or something like that, just
Yeah.
because I've got, plenty of season left. I punch my tag early, which I never do. I never have that problem, but,
Some,
dude, sorry, go ahead.
sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes, yeah, it's definitely a rarity, but yeah,
Mhm.
it can happen.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Well, man, I know who you are. A lot of folks know who you are, but for anyone who doesn't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Oh, I always hate this. I always hate this part. So yeah, man, I'm just a dude who loves the whitetail hunt. That's what I like to say. So I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I grew up in the hunting industry, so to speak. My old man started lone wolf tree stands, so ever since I was young, I was raised in that environment of a trophy whitetail bow hunter. So it was kind of the logical path for me. I got bit by that bug very, very young. Started hunting, probably at 12, 13 was the first time I bow hunted, and got completely like hooked at 15 years old and have been, just going ever since. My occupation, I guess. So like all these years later, now eventually I'm making products just like the old man did back in the day, and we have the same family brand. We're doing it under Lone Wolf Custom Gear now. So it's really cool, man, to come full circle. So to be able to do something that I've loved for so long, um, as a job, and also as a passion, and that's pretty much it, man.
Love it, dude. Yeah, and yeah, you tend to put a good handful of big deer down in the process around all that stuff as well, man. So I'm
I've,
excited to be chatting with you and pick your brain a little bit about how folks listening can do the same here, man. I'm fired up. Dude, we
yeah, hell
just
yeah, man.
wrapped up the road shows, or you did. You wrapped up the road show. We had the final one a couple weeks ago. at your guys' headquarters, the family farm in Iowa. And dude, like, we kind of talked about it off air, but like, I mean, what a blur of a month that has to be for you. But man, like, what are some of the things that jumped out to you this year, throughout the roadshow circuit? Like, do you have any favorite parts or like things that really stuck out in your mind?
Oh man, this year was such an awesome year for one. I mean, just the traction and the attendance alone. We tried two different areas, two new venues, sold out both venues, and it was really cool. We got down south, so I love moving. I love seeing new people, getting new faces in. So that's a big thing for me. So just the stoke level surrounding the show in general was awesome. My favorite part has always been just connecting with people, like-minded guys, you know. So I did the trade show circuit, the standard shows for so many years, and um, you know, it was never about selling products as much to me as about like connecting with people and you know, making those connections. So what's cool about the road show is like, you know, I hone in instead of going to a trade show and, you know, maybe seeing 15,000 people walk through, and you know, now I can kind of hone in on my core 200 and, you know, X amount of people that are like really interested in the way we're doing things, why we're designing products the way we are. And I think when you get that many people like-minded that are all amped up about whitetail hunters or whitetail hunting, and then you get whitetail hunters that got their shit together, like it's the perfect breeding ground for just success. And you can feed off each other, you can get jacked about the upcoming year, you can learn new stuff whether you've been hunting for 10 years or 2 years, and it's just really cool, man. It's a melting pot and a teaching event, but also big camaraderie and community builder too.
Totally, dude. Yeah, I mean, this year was my second road show attendance. Last year is obviously the 40th anniversary of Lone Wolf. And dude, it blew my mind last year going there for the first time and seeing just that many killers and experts. And I mean, just awesome individuals congregated in one space like that. Like just the vibe of the whole event was just like there was an energy to it that was, I mean, just everyone was stoked. It was I can't describe it better than that. It was just fucking awesome. Like it was really sweet, man. So it's I don't know. I'm glad that you're continuing those road shows, and it was cool seeing, you know, the different style, like the variation from last year to this year too, and how the event was structured, and like the different types of seminars, and like kind of the choose your own adventure type structure of it, of, you know, going to see product demos, going to listen to seminars, going to shoot your bow, all that kind of stuff. It was awesome, dude.
Yeah, it definitely we did change things up a little, and that's been probably honestly one of the big cruxes of the whole series in general is like it at its core, it's a great learning environment for new hunters, but also, you know, the deep dive in information gets so complex that we've done years where it was more of a structured type school day,
Mm-hmm.
where we got a lot of like just mapped out planned things where we're sitting in a lot of like I guess classroom time you'd call it, and which is great, and like there's awesome information, but we've tried to make it a little bit more dynamic, like a little bit more action packed and moving throughout, and the mission being that, you know, it's great for repeat attendees, but also new people. So you can get the best of both worlds and, you know, throw some fitness stuff in there. We got some archery shooting. We got, but yeah, the Iowa one definitely stands out for those who haven't been to a show. Like I encourage them to come to that show and check that one out if they can make it, because it's just family style, you know, and it's way more of a down home vibe at the home farm there. So.
Totally. Yeah, dude, absolutely. And I don't know, man. I really enjoyed the panel discussion on like wind and thermals that you guys did, man. That was cool hearing so many different guys who have had so much success in different types of terrain, different areas of the country, stuff like that. And, you know, just it's cool how discussion based that was, almost, where people could kind of, you know, they'd raise a hand, they'd ask a question, and everybody just kind of like feed off of it. Like, dude, the amount of knowledge that was passed around in that hour long
Well,
window or whatever it was fantastic.
and that's a cool aspect of it too. And one of the things I always try and do is get is get the panel discussions involved. But really, I think it's more so about letting the audience lead the discussion too, because
Mhm.
based off of where we are, there's always going to be a collective group kind of like we used to do. Sometimes we'll do an icebreaker at the beginning of the day, and I kind of gauge of like, okay, what are people here to pick up? You know, how many people are new? How many people, like some people don't have any recollection of thermals, like whatsoever. Like they're just
Mhm.
not to that point yet. They're thinking, well, I thought it was all about wind direction. It's like, well, okay, well, like we got more basic stuff to look at versus like, hey man, I just can't seem to make the thermals work in this, mountainous terrain. And then it becomes a little bit more advanced or specifically using your knowledge of thermals to actually kill a deer, which is crazy, man. It's like I've been using this term a lot lately, like superpowers, but like, dude, a lot of these things, they feel like superpowers once you figure them out. Like,
Mhm.
and, and they're pieces of information that are so valuable that like nobody talks about for one. And they're like, once you learn them, they help you across anywhere, like anywhere you're hunting, any ground, like, cause of like the basic principles of thermals apply to all, right? And
Yep.
they're, it can be different here and there, but the general principle's the same. So, but yeah, we like to let the audience kind of steer the path and because we want to directly answer, we want to directly help these people that come too versus just kind of do a seminar on what we think would be the best because
Right.
yeah, so that's kind of the mission behind there.
Yeah, totally, dude. Meet people where they're at and, figure out what they need. Cause you're absolutely right, man. And I feel like thermal talk has been, it's like, it's always been a thing, obviously. Like folks who are killing deer, like they know about thermals and they know how they work and everything, but like it didn't reach the forefront of like hunting media until the last, what, couple years, if that. It was
Dude,
all about
I'm
wind direction, like you said.
well, I'm telling you right now, this there's a lot of people that have killed a lot of big deer that don't know jack shit about thermals.
Yep.
And
Right.
and it's just the way it is. And it's not like, and I'm not saying that like you need to know about thermals to kill. Yeah, you'll get people get lucky every day. And but it's these little things that like I've actually talked to people that had really impressive, deer killed that had no concept of what anything happening beyond the regular wind direction. And it just so happens that in that situation, they were in a wind dominant scenario and they played the wind right and it worked out. But where it more so comes to light is like all these times where like you got busted and you're like, what the hell? Like, dude, I got the right wind. Like, what is going on? It's usually a thermal, or the thermals are to blame for that.
Right.
And you could go your entire life, right, with just a very good basic, very good principle of wind direction and do pretty good. But there's a lot of things you won't be able to do. A lot of places you just will not be able to figure out and hunt and have success with either, So it's kind of I mean, I don't know. I consider thermals a basic principle, but
Mhm.
also an advanced principle
Yeah,
because
totally.
it kind of evolves the deeper you dive into it.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely, dude. And yeah, I mean, it was one of those things I never really thought about. Like, obviously, like, oh, well, it's getting cold. Like, yeah, like feel that little rush in the back of my neck, and you're like, ooh, you
Hmm.
get that shiver, and then all of a sudden you get blown at 150 yards away. You're like, well, I don't know how that happened. That sucks, but whatever.
Yeah,
Hopefully, the
yeah,
guy coming down the
yeah.
ridge, I'm like, well, that buck's probably not gonna be coming down the ridge if he's not gonna be high. He wants to get below you so he can get up to whatever he's doing. As soon as like I picked your dad's brain about that last year when we had him on the show, and it helped me visualize thermals better than anything. Was how he like described basically like with a falling thermal, like picture it like water running down an area, like everything. It's like as soon as because like I don't know, I'm like very fish brained, and so like as soon as I figured out like oh shit, like that's how that water's gonna move and all that, then it was like I could visualize the wind and everything around that. And then it just totally changed the way that I hunted. So I was like, that's going to fill up first. And like the overflow concept and stuff like that. It was just kind of like, okay, I can figure out now where I need to be or not be based
Hmm.
off of that knowledge. And dude, it's just as soon as it's one of those things, as soon as that clicks, then it's like you said, it's almost feels like a cheat code, like like you're a superpower. It's not that I
Yeah.
haven't figured out by any means, but more just like once you're aware of it, it's like, damn, this is like another level up.
Well,
Okay, this works.
at least you understand and you know what's happening, and then you can put a reason. Because here's the thing, like, I think we all need to constantly be looking to learn, and you can't really learn a lesson until that lesson's explained. Like it's hard to conceptualize, I guess, and like learn that lesson without the knowledge of what happened, right? Like,
Right.
oh, I got busted. Well, why the hell did I get busted? I can't figure it out. Like, where's the lesson in there? Well, I can't hunt here. Yeah, you could say that's a lesson, but why though? Like, what about it didn't let? And then when you get the click that, like, oh, the thermals took over and they're pushing my scent over here regardless of wind. Got it. Like, then it's like a lesson learned and it's a tool. Then it's like, oh,
Right.
okay, well, I can't. And then next time you're in a similar scenario, you can apply that principle to that and think like, oh, well, okay, I wonder if the thermals are going to be doing the same thing here. And then you obviously have to, check and keep learning. But yeah, sometimes the confirmation of what's happening and the actual, um, you know, like explanation behind it really seals the deal on that.
Yeah, totally. Dude, that like the post mortem of like why something didn't work, why something failed, and being, yeah, like you said, just asking why. And then once that clicks for you, then it's, don't look at it as just like a failure, like, oh shit, like I blew that deer out, that spot's ruined, I can't do it, like you said. Like, figure out the why and then use it as a tool down the road. And like nobody wants to bust deer or get busted or, spook them 200 yards away. But like if it happens, then figure out the why and it'll make you a better hunter when you go back and do it the next time. Like,
Yep.
that's awesome,
Yeah.
dude. Dude, so like you obviously grew up raised by one of the best whitetail hunters out there. I would classify you as having reached that uh, same tier as well as one of the best to do it these days, man. Like, were there other people or hunters or anything like that like were mentors outside of like your old man or um that just taught you a
That's
lot about the woods?
that's a great question. I've never been asked that question. And first of all, I definitely appreciate the kind words. I'm a little bit harder on myself than that, and I don't know if I've reached that point, but I'll get there, and I'm ascending in my own way, and so to answer your question, no, uh, th- it's my story is definitely a different one. It's um so my old man was definitely the primary source of that. I think I think I think what started off um as a mission for approval lit a fire in me and lit my own passion for this thing that was his passion. And another thing that really got to me was that I've always been just naturally competitive, and he's also very competitive, and seeing the way that he approached hunting in such a competitive nature fired me up, and I fed off that a little bit, and knowing that like he had these things. And I mean, there's ways. I'm going back now to like the thought process back then, and
Mhm.
I'm a little different now. But to come back and answer that, like, he was the main person. But I never. This is the interesting thing. It's like I never consumed any hunting content, like, whatsoever. I mean, there was a period maybe where, like, I mean, the old man was always watching the Outdoor Channel or like the Pursuit Channel or whatever back on TV back then, and like there was shows, but seeing that, like, he would call the bullshit on those shows, which is like it was just it was never. I was never one of those people that watched hunting shows or consumed any content. Like, YouTube wasn't a thing back then, and it definitely wasn't a thing for me. Um, it was just a different time, and my because of that competitive nature from early on, like, when I split off on my own, I never even wanted to ask him anything. I felt like I needed to learn it myself. Like, and I would take, I would take things from him, but I was very stubborn and hard headed and very like I believe like I'm this type of person. I believe like if you want to learn engines, you got to blow a few engines up. And I remember like, even back when I was wrenching on trucks all the time, like I was big into, mechanic and, I wanted to be I was a, self-proclaimed gearhead or whatever. Like, dude, like that was, you wouldn't just go on YouTube and, oh, how do I
Hmm.
rebuild a 350? Like, no, like it was just, you just did it. You just started wrenching on shit you're gonna blow up an engine, man. You're gonna not do something right. You're gonna so I kind of had that same approach with hunting, and I just really wanted to learn and understand it. So that's why I preach nowadays to all these people, like all you have to do is apply yourself to what you're doing and consistently try to get better. Like if you're doing that, you're going to learn all these things and you're going to get it. And like when I was younger, I used to think like I was like, I just I don't have the ability, I don't have the gift that he has. Well, over the years, like it's not like, it's not always like some people are inherently better at things than others, but I've met people that have just honed their skills so well that it levels up to those people with that gift. So,
Hmm.
and then I feel like when you have somebody with a little bit of that gift and also that work ethic is where you get a guy like Dad. And it's different in the way they think of things, process things, even the way he looks at something to design something. It's different. And I think that's the only thing that's helped me along the way is that I don't look at anything inside of a box. My first thing is like, okay, let's get outside the fucking walls here. Let's think about this in a different fashion. Fuck what they're saying on TV or what this guy's doing on the outdoor channel. Like let's and that's where you get these unorthodox tactics and you get like, things like that that result in success and people look at it. Oh no, that'll never work. That's taboo. Well, they're just too scared and they're just not thinking of it that way. So,
Hmm.
um, I don't know. I kind of went on a tangent there, but to answer the question, no, I was more so lenient and reliant on myself and of like I knew what the mission was and I knew I just needed to figure it out. It's just anybody can figure anything out if you put enough time to it. So
Right.
it was a process of repeated failure over and over and over and over and over. And nobody likes to admit it. Like I don't know what it is about nowadays, but people are so they're so full of themselves that they don't want to admit that they fail at anything. They don't
Hmm.
want to admit that they don't want to admit they're getting busted. They don't want to admit that what they're doing might be wrong. Like, dude, I'll be the first to admit it. If you give me a better system than mine, I will give it the chance. I'll chew on it. I'll even try it. And if it's better, I will adapt that. I am not too proud because I want the better system. Like that's what my whole mission has been about is creating the most efficient system. And because I believe efficiency equals results, right? And so many people are so closed off and they don't want to admit these things. But we forget that failure and sucking at something is how you actually get better. And
Yeah.
nobody wants to go through that. Like they want the fucking skip to the finish line. They want the magic pill to get the abs. They don't want
Hmm.
to, pass up the donuts. And it's the same thing with hunting, man. All these guys that come to the roadshow, like most of them know what they need to do. It's just they get in their own way. And that was one thing that I kind of did from early on is I just stepped out of my own way and I put the blinders on and I just did what I knew I needed to do. Start scouting.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know how to read sign? Well, start applying yourself. Start going out there and looking for things. Look for tracks. Look for things that are browsed down.
Hmm.
Look for what the deer are eating. Observe them. See what they're doing. Like take note. Why are they doing this? Why are they using this? Oh, what are their ears doing? Why are their ears doing that? Like the the um the curiosity factor of all this and wanting to figure things out really play a role into the development of a hunter, I think. And that's
Totally.
where you get basic woodsmanship and yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I
Dude,
definitely
totally. Yeah.
I definitely
Answered it and
talked a
more. I
lot.
loved it.
But
No, dude, I liked it, man. I love the you got to blow up a few engines thing because it's something that if circling back to that, modern hunting media, everybody tells you don't do this. You can't do that. You cannot do that. If you bump that buck or you screw this up or whatever, he's gone. Your season's over.
dude,
It's like such black and white, all or nothing thinking. And like you said, think outside the box. And I mean, I think that's part of
well,
what leads you guys to having such great products is like thinking outside the box and like, how can we tweak this? How can we make this different? And
yeah,
yeah. So when
and
people get locked into like, well, I committed to this system, I committed to this method, or like they pledge their allegiance to a brand or some, I don't know, self-proclaimed expert or something like that online, and they're like, well, I do it this way. This is my method, and this is how it. But like, dude, like you said, get out there and like
well,
trash plays, fail, and then keep asking
that's
why until it
yeah.
works.
And that's the worst thing about it's today in the day we're living in. It's a double-edged sword, right? A blessing and a curse. Like there's all this information at your fingertip. There's never been so much information at your fingertips, but there also has never been so much wrong information at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
So like here we are, right? So we're in this day and age where it's all there's so much information out there. You could go online and figure out anything. You can ask Google a question. You can, Alexa, fucking whatever, chat GBT. But at the same time, we're in a day and age where anybody off the street can be that person that's actually putting that information on there. So it's like this. It was like this. I was talking to somebody the other day about, and man, every time I hear something about AI and about Chat GBT, every time I hear or I've used it for some work stuff and I've dabbled with it just to see what it was about. And then I remember I was talking to somebody and they were like, oh yeah, well I had Chat GBT make me a training program. And I'm like, oh shit, never thought about that. Like, oh damn,
Yeah.
I just never, it wasn't in my head. Right. And then I, I was talking to somebody that also said oh yeah, I was bullshitting with Chat GBT the other day about a buck I was hunting. And about like, and I was like, what? Like, and it blew my mind a little bit. I'm like, okay, yeah, he was telling me that. So now you got guys that are learning how to hunt from AI
Mm-hmm.
well, here's the fucking thing that nobody understands. AI, ChatGPT is only scouring the internet for stuff that's out there. So if it's bullshit information, you're just like what you can't take that as gospel. I remember I started so I went on there actually. This was a couple months ago because after I had that conversation, I was like, I gotta check this out, right? So I started just picking the brain, right? And I started just calling bullshit on a bunch of stuff. I'm like, well, this isn't right. Like, and then of course it comes back like, oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. Like, yeah, that is actually. So here's the thing: you can't even on training principles, dude. I was like, okay, let's see what this thing can do for a training method, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it spits something out and caloric consumption and expenditure and stuff like that, and I'm just sifting through it and I'm like, well, that doesn't seem right. I'm like, well, what about you just ask a basic clarifying question that proposes a miss on their end and they immediately AI immediately backpedals
Mm-hmm.
and alters it, and it's like, oh shit, like this thing doesn't know what the fuck it's talking about. It's literally just using a accumulation accumulation
Yeah.
of data that is out there on the internet for it to grab from. And
Gotta be
so
careful, dude. It's learning. You keep giving it, you keep
y-
pushing back too much. It's gonna
I
learn
know,
too
yeah.
much.
That's the thing. It's like, but it just makes me laugh that like there's guys out there that are using that and thinking they're like they got their shit dialed because like
Right.
Chat GBT is telling them which way the buck's going to come in,
Mm-hmm.
in bed, and it's like, oh man, just people. I think it comes back to the concept of like we're trying too much to have the shit done for us versus just doing it,
Yeah.
and it's maybe a very old school approach, but um, I don't believe you could expedite the process quicker than just doing, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, totally, dude. People want to think their way to a solution rather than just getting out of their chair, putting their phone down and going and
Yeah.
figuring it
And
out. You know what I mean? Like there's so much
yeah.
stuff that AI is just trying to like do for you and feed for you that people are just shutting off their brains. And
Yeah.
the
And it,
solution would be significantly faster if you just did
yeah.
it.
And
And
it's and there's I'm not I mean there's definitely things it's helping out with. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, for sure. And I'm a victim of overthinking myself, you know, and I think that's why I result so much back to the basics is because I know if I get in that rabbit hole, it's no ending. It's just or it's
Right.
never ending. So I try and not even, you know, mess with that.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick sec to tell you about Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Lone Wolf Custom Gear is as good as it gets when it comes to mobile hunting equipment. Whether you're a saddle or stand guy, public land or private, Lone Wolf Custom Gear has a set of sticks, a stand, a camera arm, and any number of accessories to get you closer to your target buck. To make it even better, everything is 100% USA sourced and made right here in the Midwest. And it's even assembled right across the river in Iowa by hunters who love chasing deer just as much as you do. To build your kit today, go visit lonewolfcustomgear.com. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, dude, same. Yeah, I haven't touched it. My girlfriend's in grad school right now, and she had a whole course on AI and using that for different applications and all the different softwares and what they're best for like from like graphic design stuff to
Oh yeah.
like I mean shit, like not that she's doing writing papers and all that kind of stuff, but
Yeah,
yeah, dude,
dude.
it's
I mean,
crazy.
it's
It's
yeah.
crazy. It's
Some
the
yeah.
conversations with ChatGPT that freak me out. When someone's like, "Oh, I was talking to ChatGPT." No,
I
nope,
know, man.
nope.
It's that's like, dude, but that's what I was doing, you know. So that's actually what I was like, okay, well, let's see how much this fucker knows about, or I'm like, I'm like, all right, let's talk some deer, you know, and and yeah, like when you're actually talking verbal, you put it on the voice mode. That's when I would just post. I'm like, no, wait, stop. Like, that's not right. Like, why? Like, what makes you think this deer would be doing this? And what? And it's so I don't know. I actually thought about doing a series of videos on it. Uh, you know, questioning AI about hunting
Hmm.
tactics and fucking proving it wrong. And but that's another topic.
Yeah, dude, good little.
For another day.
Yeah, good way to fire back up the dying breed vlogs
Yeah, I
again.
know, right? Yeah. Oh, first video, fucking Cody D'Acquisto argues with ChatGPT about whitetail hunting. That'd be a good thumbnail.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
clickbait for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, people be
yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
it. Well, dude, on the note of doing things yourself and doing things getting out there and figuring things out yourself, what aspect of deer hunting took you the longest to like click with you and like
Hmm.
figure out?
Damn, these are good questions. Okay, let's see. What aspects of deer hunting?
Obviously it's an evolving thing
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
different
yeah.
year, different scenarios, there's different things. You
Y-
put yourself in a different
Yep.
state, different environment. It's like, okay, well now I need to figure out how this works. But like woodsmanship principle, let me narrow it down to that. Maybe I don't know, dude. There's
Well, so I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to run through all the hardships and the lessons like in
Mhm.
my head real quick to pick out like the overarching tough. So my biggest thing that stands out is I would have to say it's going to be general, but it would be the manipulation of a certain area and understanding how to act. And it's weird because I dissect this into like stages, right? So
Mhm.
like I meet a lot of people that don't really know how to find deer. And then I meet a lot of people that know how to find deer, but don't know how to kill deer. And then I meet a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's,
Yeah.
I think it's something that you build up, like you event, or this is kind of how I picture it, right? The evolution of a whitetail hunter or somebody actively, you know, applying themselves. It's like at first they may be kind of lost in the element of like, okay, where do I find these deer? As they get better at reading sign, scouting, like locating, okay, now I know generally where these deer are. Like, how do I, how do I how do I get in these deer and hunt them without blowing them the hell up, right? But
Right.
I think, so finding bucks, and specifically, and like when it came to bedroom hunting, and like killing them on their beds, because this was something I was obsessed about early, which I try and steer people away from now, because it's become such this crazy thing. I feel like if you got it, use it, but it's not the fail safe. But when I was looking and scouting for these deer, or I would get to a point to where I would find a spot, and it would be an awesome spot, and it would be like what I was looking for, and then I would screw up on the actual manipulation of that spot, and I'd get busted. Either I wouldn't be able to get the deer shot. I would have an encounter, I would see him, but I was just way off, and I wasn't nearly as dialed, I call it, right, as I should have been. And now, like, fast forward, I remember there was like years of that, like, of just like, oh shit, but I was always in the game. That was more important to me. Like, it was, my success has came from creating more and more opportunities. Not like, I'm not that guy who hunts all year and gets one shot and capitalizes on that one shot. I'm that guy who fucks up 15 times, but I create 16 opportunities. Like that. That's me. That's been me. Like, it's so it's like staying in the game, getting up when you're knocked down is like the most valuable lesson, right? Like, it's cliche, but really it is. So I would have these encounters, and I would get busted, or something would happen, or I'd be in the wrong spot, or I'd be set up wrong for the win. So now I just gravitated to a process and a system that is so dialed in, like, the ambush kill spot, that was the toughest part for me to click, was analyzing everything. Like, hey, it's not just about shooting these two trails. It's about the big picture. It's about, wind direction. It's about thermals. It's about, here's a big one, not even the tree, stand placement in the tree, like
Hmm.
playing your game in the tree, being ready, being on your toes, not fucking being caught, off guard. Like, all these little stupid things, which is a bunch of things, but I feel like they all land in the the man. I'm trying to put them in like a box, but because there's just so much to it, right? So I
Right.
guess, if
Right.
let's narrow it down to stand placement.
Okay.
So
I
not,
like that. Yeah.
or I would say not even stand placement, but, or not placement in the sense of like, oh, this is the tree. Like, in the placement in the tree, and thinking through every step of, okay, I'm going to hang the tree like this, angled in this direction, in this location for the wind, and then with as little movement to execute X shot as possible. Like, when I started, versus it started out with like, oh, here's where he's coming through. This is the tree closest to that spot. This is where I need to be. And like, my wind's pretty good. Like, and I'm gonna shoot him or if it's a pinch. Like, okay, I can cover this whole pinch. So if that buck comes through here, it was too exploded, and it went from that to like, okay, well, let's look at every little nook and cranny of this English muffin, and if, okay, this is like seemingly like a first pick of the tree, but like, okay, I might be a little bit better sliding over 5 yards to have the perfect shot with a lot less movement at these two trails, versus being able to hit the third one, but having to stand up and turn around. Like, I'd rather, I don't know. I might be butchering saying this, but I guess fine tuning was the toughest part.
Hmm. Yeah. No. Totally.
Fine tuning the actual ambush setup itself. It took a lot of, like, but it's to the point now to where, like, it's second nature. There's not even, and people ask, like, well, why do you pick that tree, or why do you set up like this? Like, well, it's simple. Like, because when this happens and this happens and the wind's doing it, like, I won't have, I literally, I want to be, I want to be set up. And when I'm set up, like, when I ask myself, okay, can you kill that buck when he comes through with the least possible movement and go undetected this entire set? Like, is that going to happen here? yeah, okay, then I'm in the right spot and I'm right off. And I've developed a checklist in my head that's so lengthy that by the time I go through all the check marks, the right tree and the right scenario is just a flashing red light. I think I talked about that at like the roadshow one time, which I never thought of it like that. But it's like, oh, how do you make this? It's just a process of elimination, man. It's just like,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm doing when I'm hunting at all times. I'm eliminating all the external factors, and I'm coming down to one. And then by the time I narrow it down that much, because it's like the choice is obvious. It's like, oh, well, right here, this is it.
Yeah.
This is exactly where I need to be. Because I'm bulletproof with the wind. I can shoot sitting down. I got minimal movement. I'm not going to get skylit. I'm not going to like. There's just all these little things that I check off the list of very quickly. As I'm setting up an ambush location.
Yeah, totally, dude. I love that answer because like so many folks find themselves caught in that position where they're thinking, okay, well, how do I shoot? I could be in this tree and be able to shoot this trail and then the second trail and that third one behind me, like you said. And one's at 30, or like they pick a tree because they've got like a huge, wide, like super wide open window of a
Yeah.
shooting zone, or rather than like one lane in front of them that's going to be right at the perfect angle, so that all they have to do, like you said, is pick up your bow, minimal movement, draw back, let that thing fly, and like almost thinking of your kill from like track the arrow back to the tree and then figure it out like kind of from the, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like, dude, like I feel like I was talking to Josh about it yesterday. Like it's like there's three kind of pillars of mobile hunting, right? There's like the shooting, like the actual ability to kill the deer. There's the comfortability with your gear and like just being efficient with it and not like knowing how to get into whatever tree you need to get into rather than like hunting for the tree that works. Cause it's like, oh, this would be more comfortable. This would work. Or I could get up there, but like, it's going to suck to climb. So I'm going to steer clear of that. And even though that might be the right tree. And then there's like the woodsmanship aspect, which is like, okay, I got to find the deer and like the hunting sort of thing. Like, I don't know which one that falls under. But
I I
I
I
lost my train
think
of thought, but like,
I think this would fall under the utilizing of gear, but
Mhm.
if you wanted to break it down into those three, it would be probably a little bit of the gear and a little bit of the actual executing of the shot, because beyond being a capable shot with a bow, there is a lot to executing a shot in inside of 15 yards. When you have a giant, or like a big matured whatever, or any deer, let's just talk. When you have them inside of 15 yards, that close quarters, and especially if you're not that high, like let's say you're 10 feet off the ground, they're inside of 15. It is a very difficult task to be able, like, now let's say you're sitting there, to be able to get your bow in your hand and execute a shot at that deer without him knowing you're there is not easy. And sometimes it can, like, you'll have another group of guys who will get to the point to where like their setups are dialed, but they cannot for the life of them figure out how to navigate that situation in the panic and the stress of it. Because now this is the biggest buck you've ever, like, right? This is a 180-inch fucking buck, right? And you can see the fucking snot dripping out of his nose, right? And you got to, or let's say your bow's on your lap and all you got to do is come up to the top and draw, but he's literally just browsing in the timber right next to you,
Mhm.
clearing his peripherals. Well, dude, you pick that thing up and that thing's in his peripherals and you are done. There's no way. He's out of there. And I mean, you might get lucky, but like I consider an aspect of woodsmanship is being able to read wildlife, and that's a huge thing too, like another big thing. So when I was young, I made that fatal mistake, and I had a giant dead to rights inside of 15 when I was 15 years old, and I thought to myself, there is no way this deer's getting out. Like, I'm right here, I'm going to draw, I'm going to shoot him. He's so close. Dude, he cracked me so quick from the slightest movement of my bow in his peripheral and he took off like a bat out of hell. I couldn't believe it. I was left so scarred and dumbfounded that I've never made that mistake again. I am so cautious of their eyes. Their eyes are so cagey, and movement is such a huge thing. And being able to read their body language when they're stressed out, when they're at ease, when they think they hear something, when they think they smell something, when they think they see something. Like all these, you're going to get different reactions to these deer and what they're doing. And, a lot of people, more people can relate to like turkeys, right? Like you see a turkey, and maybe not, I'm just an example, but like, when a turkey is just pecking around and feeding, on grubs and whatever, there's a total different aura about when they versus when they are like just slightly alert. They're not
Hmm.
like tipped off, but they're like, it's different, and knowing how to understand that and knowing how to, read their mannerisms is huge too. So a lot of people can't like putting the pieces together to one, stay composed, but then to two, be able to read the body language of a deer that close in proximity and effectively get off a shot without getting cracked or is very hard for some people.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a big step. I think honestly, I think that's why a lot of people tend to shoot farther ranges and shoot and hunt higher too, because like there is an aspect of because I'm a big advocate for hunting low. I just like the up close personal nature. It jacks me up. It's like freaking a rush you wouldn't believe having a deer that big that
Right.
close, and then the fuck it's like the gamble, right? It's like the payoff is so high, but there's so much on the line, and like you got to be so still, it hurts, and like you're just like you're holding on right for him to just clear that far, and like like you could reach out and touch him, like until when you get to that point to where, and it's such a rush because anything can happen a coyote could howl down the draw and he could take 15 steps and be behind a tree like or two squirrels could start fighting him. It could sketch him out and all of a sudden then he's at attention 5 feet from you and your bow is not even up to draw yet, dude. It When you're 30 feet up in a tree 30 feet away, you're sort of out of that intimate.
Out of the
You're
bubble.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not intimate.
Hmm.
And I don't know. It's just like, and you can get away with more up there, but you can also get picked off way easier from up there. So it's a catch 22. But to me, what has jacked me up from day one is just getting as close to these things as humanly possible. And dude, I remember, dude, I can just every experience that literally makes me tingle and get goosebumps was some close quarter scenario with a mega giant. And there was a buck I was hunting a few years ago that oh man, dude, I was in the hedge and I had one lane, one scrape I was hunting, and it's so thick in there. It's like Alice in Wonderland meets Narnia, it's like and like, you get turned around in like low light because everything looks the same. And I was hunting one scrape and dude, this absolute hammer. He was, upper 80s, low 90s as a mainframe eight. Um, and I remember just looking over, just the slightest movement because I was so low, so point blank to the scrape, and I was just trying to be as still as I possibly could the whole morning. And I heard I heard that one twig, that one twig to where like you know what's up, and I just looked over like this in the just this, like literally right over my left shoulder, and I'm like, oh my god, like and he's just it starts coming right in and he's right behind the hedge tree. And I never got a shot at him. He never hit the scrape. He bedded up 15 yards from the scrape, 15 yards from me. So I actually have, this is something I've been meaning to pull. I don't know how I do this, but I've been meaning to, this was the year I was following all my hunts on my Instagram story.
Hmm.
And this was all on my story. It just disappeared after a couple days. And I want to bring it back up to, so he beds up at 15 yards in the shit. And all of a sudden I get that mid-morning wind switch and I'm like, I'm going to get down and kill this fucking thing. So I get, and so he's right there. I'm watching his rack like a hawk, right? He's getting like woozy. He like, he's falling asleep a little bit, and I'm packing my shit down. So I pull my stand off, and I pull, and I'm like slowly, like I'm inching down the tree. I'm on the top step, and I'm just like looking beyond the tree, and I'm looking at him, making sure he's not seeing me. I'm just like, and I'm like slowly coming down, and then I get down out of the tree. It takes like fucking 10 minutes just to get down my two sticks. I just was going so slow. And and then now the floor, the the timber floor is like just riddled with deadfalls and
Mm-hmm.
edge apples to roll your ankles, and it's like grass waist high, and it's just not quiet, right? But we got a good wind, so I'm like, okay, how the hell do I? There was this one tree in between us, and I'm like, how the hell do I do this? I'm just sitting there. I'm not a ground hunter. I don't know. I'm out of my element. So I start just crawling, and then a couple times he's like, you heard something, you thought something. Anyway, I only got to make up, like, I got to get like, he's probably, I don't know if he was maybe 25 like total, like I only had to get 10 yards. And it was literally, the only reason I had to get that far is because there was no lane directly to him. I had to do this with the right wind to then ultimately shoot him here. And there was this one big hedge tree that I had to get to. And I remember I got to that tree, and I was like, holy shit, I got to that tree. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking facing the other way. And his rack is on one side of the tree, and his ass is on the other side. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm behind a tree 10 yards behind him, or 12 yards behind him. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. This is it, dude. He's dying. I'm going to get him. And, um, I remember a doe picked me off somewhere in the timber,
Oh.
way beyond me, and she started blowing, but he had no idea. Then he swung his head around and was looking. And then, I don't know if I got a wind shift or whatever, but I remember thinking to myself, I was like, okay, or he stood up and looked over, and is literally his vitals are like blocked by this giant tree. And I'm like, oh, dude, and I'm right there with the recurve right behind the tree, like a damn Fredbear painting, dude. If somebody could have got this fucking thing up, a picture of this, I'm like right behind the tree, and I'm like, okay, it's clear open, clear open. I'm like, he's gonna step right, or he's gonna bound left, or he's gonna adjust to see what's going on. He's going to do that, and when he does, he's gonna get smoked. So I'm right here on him, right, not drawn, but I'm ready, dude. In a snap of a fingers, he does this, spins 180, and bounds straight behind the tree, and three more, and he's fucking in the abyss. And I'm just like, and just like that, he was gone. But like those close quarter, like hunting in that,
Mm-hmm.
I would have never been in that situation had I hunted the logical transition with the five main trails coming to it. The only like I and because he wasn't even taking that path, right? I knew that whatever hit this scrape back in the depths was a giant. I just had a feeling, right? I had a gut feeling, and so I opted out of the seeing more deer and having more opportunities. Like the odds were better over there to hunt this one narrow laned scrape to get more of a close and personal encounter. And I didn't know what that deer was. I had no idea. I just knew it was I just figured it was a shooter, and it just
Mm-hmm.
happened to be a absolute hammer. Well, knowing where he was bedded too, that I was I left the timber that morning. I was bummed, but I was jacked because it was an awesome and I was so confident. I literally left, and I was like, that deer's going to be dead tomorrow. He's going to be fucking dead tomorrow. Like there's no, because he didn't, that's the beauty. He didn't know I was there. He didn't bust me. The doe started, whatever. I don't think he did either way. Or if he did get my wind, it was the situation, but I knew where he was posted up. That's where he was hanging his head. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be in here. I'm going to be in here tomorrow. I'm going to be waiting for you, man, down the trail. And it's game over. This is, giant dead. And I woke up to hit the gym the next morning. I remember I waking up in the van, I made my breakfast, and I usually, there was a gym nearby, and it's like a 30-minute drive, but I go hit the gym before the morning hunt. And, I woke up, I was getting my shit ready. It was probably like 2 a.m. and I seen a text that came in um at like 9 that past evening before I crashed, or right after I crashed, that I didn't see. And it was a dude, another guy who hunts the property. And he said, he's like, oh, he's like, the neighbor shot a giant and needs help tracking him. And my stomach just dropped. I was like,
Oh no.
I looked at it and I'm like, and I immediately messaged him back. I'm like, what did it look like? And he sent me a trail camera picture of it, and it was that buck. And I was like, I was done, dude. I was so discouraged, man. It was like being, and it turns out, and then I ended up, so I bumped that deer. So that deer I bumped him out of his bed. This is what I talk about. He probably, so then that evening, I skipped out of even hunting that whole area because I didn't want to fuck anything up because I had him dicked for the next morning. So I figured he would go to either his same evening route or, a secondary pattern, and then recycle back to that bedding area that I was pretty confident about. And he got shot that night then, going out to a field or whatever, by a neighboring hunter. And I ended up having to track that deer, and found him for the guy. And it
Dang.
was, but I don't know. I don't even know where the hell that, like, I don't even know how we got on that, but it was
I
an
think
awesome
from picking
story.
the right tree, dude, that was an
Yeah,
awesome, like
yeah,
an
yeah,
epic
yeah.
story. Holy shit, man. Dude, and
The
there's
cool,
so many things that jumped out to me in that. Like it started with the close encounter, reading the deer's behavior and, uh, knowing when to draw. And like, I have a question on that. I'm going to stick a pin in because otherwise I know I'm going to go off on a different tangent here. But dude, like, the patience that it requires when you've got a deer that close. And made me think, like, when you're 30 feet up in a tree and that deer stops and is like kind of on edge, I feel like your mindset's more like, all right, dude, like chill out, like come on, a couple more steps or whatever. But when you're that close to one, it's like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Like don't
uh,
wig out. Like the
yeah,
tension is like
yeah.
significantly higher. But like another thing, when you climb down from the tree, you said it took you like 10 minutes to get down. And like, dude, having the patience to like it literally does. I mean, like you said, 2 steps. You have to move so freaking slow when you're that close to a deer to not wig them out and to not make sure the bark doesn't pop off your stick or you don't
And
tick
dude,
anything. Like,
and that honestly, like I would have never been able to do that had he bedded, you know, 5 degrees the other. Like he just so happened to be right in this line of an actually like a hedgerow, so like 4 or 5 trees,
mm-hmm.
like right flush to each other. And so I had really good cover that way, and he was positioned facing back where he came from with the wind at his back. So that was the only, like, had he been in a different scenario, like, right, like had I been in his peripheral, I would have never attempted it. In
Right.
hindsight, sometimes I even think about it. I'm like, fuck, motherfucker, you're dumb. You should have waited him out, because he would have probably got up at 11:30 and went and hit that scrape, and you'd have put an arrow through him. But I've never been that guy to wait. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, no, go for it. Like no, make this happen. Like, because had I waited, I'd rather try and fail than had never tried anything. So like that's kind of how had
Yeah,
I
no,
waited.
totally.
But hindsight, I'm like, oh, you dumb shit, you should have waited, because like, dude, you'd have just waited in there for 4 hours and he'd have got up and. But yeah.
Spur of the moment, man. Yeah, you gotta. I get it, dude. I had one a few years ago. It was actually after it was 2023. It was actually when I first heard about you. I listened to your episode on the push after you killed that slammer, like in that kind of like rock field or whatever on that
Oh
bluff.
yeah.
And that was when I like it everything clicked for me in terms of like hill country buck bedding. Where I was like, I watched this buck. I was saddle hunting at the time, and I like forgot to put on my saddle that morning, and so I like came in, got to the tree, went to climb it, couldn't do it, went all the way back down to the truck, grabbed my shit, came back in like gray light, and then I look across this draw and I see just this big 10 point come just slowly walking up into this thicket. So then I hunted that thicket again and again and again, and then finally one day he popped back up out of there. started going towards this point. It was like right after I listened to that episode, and I was like, I know there's a bunch of boulders over there. That fucker's going to
Yeah.
bed down right underneath that cedar,
Yeah.
right in there. And never killed him, but went after him, spooked the shit out of him. And that
Yeah.
was that. But not
Was he bedded over there?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I went in last year even, and like I think that spot is just, it's got to do something with the thermals, at least on an east wind, especially when it's bombing, because it's on like the shady side of the bluff. And dude, if you go in there and like cross it, and I just got lazy and I was like, screw it, like I'm just gonna cut this trail and I'm gonna cross over and set up on the, I guess it'd be the south side of it, sort of. But like my thermals were so bulletproof in that location. The only thing that they caught was just my ground scent from where I'd walked across, which like at that point. But like, dude, as I was pulling my bow up, I heard a twig snap, and it was like a 2.5-year-old little 10, but I mean, he was like 11 yards from me and had no idea.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of sat there, holy shit. And then a couple of little guys, but I don't know. You find those spots where like everything works, and I was more fired up that like my thermals were actually doing what I wanted them to do than the fact that I just,
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah. That's
when
a
it comes
huge
to
win.
when it comes to getting close to deer and stuff like that, or being in tight to those deer, have you found, I know you made the switch to shooting a trad bow a few years ago, dude. Have you found it's easier to get drawn in close proximity with the trad bow or compound?
Compound. It's harder with the
Really?
trad bow for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I thought it would be like this gravy transition because I'm shooting bucks at 10, 12 yards with the compound bow. And I was like, oh, it's going to be nothing. Going to a traditional bow was like totally different. And what made it totally different was the parameters and the angle of the string and the drawing. And so it essentially made me not able to get in as dense of cover, and it made me have to switch
Sure.
my setups because you can't. So with the bow, you got to think of this big long bow and the string angle. Shooting something at like right under you, your string or your bow is hitting the stand or the cable. It was one of the big reasons why I got Steve over at Bushman to make me the custom 53-inch um little tactical longbow, because I was like, dude, I need something tiny, man. I need something that I can maneuver in these tight quarter setups, and that changed the game for me. It got me so much parameters back, because I had successfully killed with so I gravitated to a 64 or 62-inch longbow, which was a shorter ish, but it was still, man, it's different, right? I had to switch my setup.
Mm-hmm.
And then going from that 62 to that 53 was a gate, like was totally different. And it really helped me. It didn't get them all back, but it helped me. But I remember with that compound, I I was so fearless with that. Like I would literally shove it through a cedar limb and just and it didn't matter what was touching my bow. It didn't matter if limbs were hanging over my string, and I didn't care about
Mm-hmm.
any of that because it didn't really matter. Like it was, and I would just barrel it through places, not have to worry about anything being cleared up. And I would cant it a lot. So it was way easier with that for sure.
Got it. Did you
But
notice? So I feel like everybody is, I mean, you read compound bow stuff or you watch videos, you talk to bow shops, whatever. Everything's got to be perfect. Your peep, your sight, your nothing can touch your string. If you're can't, like, twisting your bow or your grip's too tight or whatever, you're gonna jack things up. Whatever, it's all gonna
you just came off
fall
you
apart.
just came off a podcast with Josh Christie, didn't you?
I did actually, yeah.
No,
No.
I'm just saying he's a bow nut, man, and yeah.
Well,
Okay,
but that
keep
was
going.
no,
Yeah.
I kind of pushed back. Like he wasn't advocating for all that sort of stuff. But we got on the topic of like, the old days of like, you hit a pie plate and you're good, or you grab the compound, you sling a few arrows. That like we're taking the angle of like things are becoming overcomplicated in like the shooting realm. So I'm curious, like, you shooting a compound, like, I know it used to have some crazy old, release and stuff like that, and shot single pin and no peep and all this kind of stuff. Dude, did you like, okay, shoving a compound bow through a cedar limb, through whatever, and I'm assuming your cams probably slapped the shit out of some leaves
Oh
or some
yeah,
twigs and
dude.
stuff like that. Dude, I'm guessing
Yeah.
it didn't like ruin things too much though, right?
Dude,
Like,
no, of course, of course. I mean, so here, I'm gonna preface this by saying, like, I've always been somebody who's beat the shit out of my
mhm,
equipment. Like I just, and not that I don't care for it because I do, but I use it as it's intended. Like I was the type of guy too that never washed my Harley. Like, there's different guys, right? There's the guy who's out there polishing his freaking pipes, and then there's the dude who just runs it, and that
mhm,
was me. So I think I think it's crazy how nuts people get with these bows and stuff. But to answer your question, no. Like I would bang that limb off the stuff. I mean, yeah, yeah. Can you mess up your bow? Yes, but in generally speaking, I did have my bow set up in sort of a barbarian way. Like you would never catch me dead shooting a peep sight. In my head, you know what I cannot I cannot get over the fact, like, okay, like okay, hypothetically, right? If you said, like, you're saying to me, hey, dude, it's possible that you got that buck at 10 yards, you did all the work, he's there, all you got to do is shoot him. You clear his peripheral, you do everything right, you draw back, and your peep is twisted. And you can't see where the fuck you're aiming, and you can't see your pin, I would be like, "Are you fucking nuts? Like, what do you mean? Like, that's a possibility? Like, you're telling me that by having this thing on my bow, well, yeah, but you'll be more accurate at 50 yards because it'll give you another reference point." I'd be like, "Go fucking eat shit with that peep sight. Like, are you kidding me? You're gonna cost me a giant buck? Like, just like what do you like? That's how I looked at things. It's the same thing with mechanical broadheads. Like, I'm like, wait, so you're telling me there's a chance that fucker doesn't open up, and I don't
mhm,
get the buck of my lifetime that I drill right in the right spot? And it's horror stories you heard all the time. And I know mechanicals have came a long way, but I've always had that mentality of like that just does not sit well with me. Like, why would I chance that when I could just shoot without it? Or even, and now, we get to the days of, and this was one thing that I never conceptually thought about that, but one of the biggest bucks I would ever have on the wall to date, I I missed 100%. And I'm not one for making excuses, but what I did was I grabbed my drop away cable when I grabbed my bow, and it
oof,
didn't even know it. Like, but I remember, I remember I set my bow up and I put this QAD drop away rest on it, and I made that fucker as short as it possibly could. It went straight from the rest over to the bus cable, and it was like 3 inches. It was like petite, whatever. Well, then a couple dudes seen my bow and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, dude, that thing needs to be weighed out. No, it doesn't work at that angle. That you're gonna get a misfire. You're gonna get all that." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" So I got a new cable for it, and I extended it down how you're supposed to, right? So now it's like 7, 8 inches. You know what I'm talking about? How it goes
mhm,
from the
yeah, yeah,
because you want more of an angle. Shit, some of them even go down to the bottom fucking cam now. It's nuts. Anyway, so I put it on there. I'm hunting this scrape, 6 yards off the scrape in this mega giant. I'm hunting with matching split twos. Comes in 180-inch deer all day, clean 180 fucking muley looking deer comes in and I'm like, oh my God. And I have my bow right here. He's coming in. He starts working a small rub, looks away. I grab my bow, come over, get into position. I'm just sitting right here waiting at the scrape because I know he's going to come. He starts coming up, gets that limb up in his tines, and you can hear and I'm like, oh, dude. And I just reefer back and I felt some resistance, but nothing I thought about. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of a strong dude. Like, what, whatever. I'm just like, I don't know. I just pulled right through it, felt some resistance. And then I kind of was like settling in and I looked and I seen the cable just hanging there. And I'm like, oh, dude, I just pulled the goddamn. And I thought about that at full draw. I'm like, I just pulled the damn thing out of that. And I'm like, oh, it won't matter. Like he's 6 yards. If the rest doesn't drop, the rest doesn't drop.
mhm,
Doom. And just and it dove and I missed him right under his belly. And I had just that year went to shooting vanes. I've shot feathers my entire life. So it wouldn't have mattered had I still been shooting feathers. I
huh,
went to vanes, got this new drop away rest, and the cable fucked me, but even getting into trad stuff, all these guys, oh, put a clicker on your bow, put a clicker on your bow. I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to have a big fucking wire hanging off the top of my limb as I'm trudging through brush, being rough on my equipment, and having something that could get hung on or ripped off. And then all of a sudden I'm relying on my clicker to click and it doesn't click and it messes up my shot process. And
What's the
so,
clicker do?
so the clicker it's a string you connect. It's a little piece of metal that you put on your limb and then you run a wire to your string
Hmm.
and you set it up and measure it to where when you come to your anchor, it's right taut. And then right when you back tension a tight little bit, it goes, or like it clicks. And then
Hmm.
that's supposed to be your shot, or your release when you release. So
Got
it's
it.
like
Okay.
a
Sure.
lot of these shooters use them and they swear by them because it gives you
Hmm.
the exact same draw length every time.
Got it.
But back to square one, I that stuff doesn't sit well with me. I want my stuff to be able to be abused. I want it, and like I meant about my bow, no, it didn't matter, but it was set up very barbaric. It was set up with just a kisser button, and my sight was actually nowhere in line with my string. It was just a reference point. Like it was more of a picture. Um, I don't know if I think I was talking about this to somebody the other day, and I can't remember when, but when I had my bow set up by a shop one time, and they lined up my sight with my string, and I was trying to shoot it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I was like, I'm looking through my goddamn string, and I remember Josh was like, well, yeah, that's where you want your sight, and I'm like, what? I'm like, nah, like well, people think conventionally, like because your peep is in your string, so you're looking through, you want the. So I'm like, I remember I took the Allen wrench and loosened it up and slid the fucker all the way to the left and maxed it out. And then just tightened it down. And then I drew back, corner of my mouth with that kisser button, and then I just fucking drilled it at 20 yards. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm good. And he was like, what the hell did you just like you just move that all the way? Yeah, yeah, now it's good. Now it's way away from my string. It's I don't know. So it was always a very barbaric style of shooting. It was
Hmm.
I punch the trigger, rip it back, get like so yeah, I mean
I love it,
so
dude.
no
No, that's
so no I don't think it mattered if a cedar limb was touching my cam or whatever. I just never
Mhm.
thought about that.
No, for sure. I was more so, yeah, I wanted to get the confirmation that like, yeah, just because that is touching your limb,
Mm.
you still like made the shot. It still got there, which like everybody
Oh yeah,
freaks
I
out
mean,
because they're like, it's one thing if you're gonna bang your bottom cam like on your stand or something, or
well,
on like a 3 inch stick, like yeah, that'll jack everything up. But it's not like
and
that
and
leaf
if
is gonna
you're
ruin you.
yeah, and if you're I think people think a little bit too. So even canting a compound too, like it was really,
Hmm.
with the whole level and what, dude, I would cant that thing so hard and rip it, and now, mind you, though, like too, we do have to take into account that if you were taking a 40-yard shot or a 45-yard shot at a deer out in a field, which I think you got crazy margin for error there, even if that deer takes one step. But if you're taking a long shot like that and I'm pushing this thing through trees like to shoot a deer that's 10 yards away. Like if that arrow flight is a little wonky, or let's say it
Hmm.
does do something to the bow, it's not mattering.
Right.
Especially with a compound shooting 250 feet per second. Like, dude, so many people you don't even realize like what like the idiosyncrasies people develop with these bows. And like they think they gotta be I mean, you'll have guys move. I was talking. I was talking to Alan in the warehouse the other day. Not to put him on blast, but he was like sighting my bow, and he's like, and he's a pretty good shot,
Hmm.
and and he's got a new sight on, so he's sighting it in, and he's telling me he's like, oh yeah, he's like just I was like, yeah, I've been I come in one day, he's telling me, yeah, oh, lights out, man. I even got that new dial on there. He's like, I cranked it out and stepped back to 70, and I was punching him in the 10 ring at 70, and I'm like, you guys are. I was like, you're nuts. I was like, that's sick, man. Whatever. Not that he would shoot a deer
Right.
that
Right.
far, but he's just shooting his bow, and he's a good shot. Well, he comes in next day, and he's all flustered a little bit. And he's like, oh, he's like, I screwed my broadheads on, and I'm shooting a half inch to the right. He's like, he's like, I don't know if I should play, at 70 yards.
Yeah.
He at 70 yards, he's shooting a half inch to the right. I'm like, I'm like, what's the problem? I'm like, he's like, oh, I got. So then he comes in the next. Yeah, I figured it out. I had to click. I moved it over a little bit. This I split the difference between the broadheads and the. I'm like, dude. I'm like,
Too much.
I'm like an inch off at 70 yards. I'm like, what are we even doing here? Like, dude, you're deadly. Like you're so. It's just an example of like how you get
No,
in the
dude,
weeds.
totally.
You get in the
Yeah.
weeds, man, and you're in the weeds.
Right, exactly. The more complicated, the more intricate you make something, the more complicated and intricate and things like the more things you have to check when you take
Yeah.
the shot. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can put a $700 release on a $3,000 bow with the $60 arrow build or whatever. And guess what? If your grip sucks, like everything goes out the window and it doesn't matter. And it's like, okay, at that point is the investment in that kind of stuff on a 18-yard deer, like whitetail shot, is that going to like,
Yeah.
are you really getting anything more out of it by doing all that? And I know guys are doing 3D shoots and stuff now where it's like, yeah, it's fun to
Yeah.
stretch it out 70, 80 yards and like shoot a good group. Like that's rad. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's
a
fun, but
different. I think that's a different thing all on itself. Like
totally.
I think these guys who are like big shooters and who are shooting far, like dude, that's awesome. And it's a feat of marksmanship that I don't have, that I can't do, and like it's a skill. It's just not something that I've ever paired up with my hunting. Like I want my hunting to be the focus, not my shooting. And even like, you asked me prior to us talking, like, hey, you got any interest in going out west and doing a hunt out there? And yes, I do. And I remember like the first thing people would tell me is like, oh well, yeah, you got to start shooting farther. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like I don't. I still don't have a desire to shoot something at 80 yards. Like I'll just have to get closer. And if I can't, then I can't.
Mhm.
But like that's gonna be my mission, is to kill them super close. Like if I go elk hunting, like I want that thing screaming in my face.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Not, okay, I'm perched up on the side of a ridge and I take a 70-yard bomb at an elk that has no idea. Like that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I would be. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Totally.
If I was looking for that, I would just go hunt with a rifle.
Yeah.
Like to me, there'd be no difference in just sitting out and shooting them far range. Which,
Mhm.
I don't know. That's kind of how I look at things. Like I want the
Yeah,
rush.
no,
I
part
want
of
the
the experience is getting close and like
yeah,
having
yeah.
that engagement
For
with an
me,
animal.
dude,
Mhm.
I ran into some elk when I was whitetail hunting up in North Dakota, man, and I was laying on the ground and I had this bull come through at like 30 yards screaming. I was like hiding, just trying to stay there. And dude, it freaking rocked me up, man. I was jacked. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And it got me thinking like, oh dude. Now in my mind, I was just envisioning myself like getting to a knee and just putting one through his
Mhm.
rib cage that looked like it was this freaking big. And I'm just like, oh man, this would be a fire. This would fire me up, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you ever watched any of like South Cox
dude, I
stuff?
haven't watched any of his stuff, but I was just talking with the hunter guys, and they told me about him, and he was on their podcast, and I'm gonna look into him because he seems like a dude that I would get down with for sure.
Dude, his YouTube stuff.
From
He's
what
got a
I've heard
video of
about,
shooting
yeah,
a bull at 5 feet or 5 yards or something like that with a
yeah,
recurve. And it was like, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
same thing. Comes over that ridge, cracking limbs and, knocking trees over, like
That's
screaming. And he's tucked right
that's
behind a tree. And as soon as the thing clears, just, boom, like,
that's what I
dude,
want right
just
there. Yeah,
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
you can't tell me that you get the same rush sending a 75
And
yard bomb, which like maybe you do. Cause I mean,
well,
watching that arrow flight in slow motion, I could see a strong argument for that too. And seeing that thing just zoof,
yep,
and like
that would be
disappear into
cool.
that. I don't know.
And well, so here's on the contrary, like I did. So one thing I'm gonna so one thing that resonated with me. So you asked me a question before, and it loops into this conversation. And it
Mhm.
was like, hey, did you ever, it was like, did you ever look at it up to anybody? And I really didn't have any like mentors in the hunting space. It
Mhm.
was just, and I didn't consume any content. But like I'm gonna go back. There's a couple things that stuck with me over the course of a time, and one person that always fascinated me was Tim Wells. And like I just like I didn't religiously watch his. I don't know if he had a show back then or whatever, or maybe Relentless Pursuit or whatever he did.
Mhm.
But I remember seeing like as the old man will be watching the channel, there was a couple things I've seen that stuck with me and that were burned in my brain. And seeing how accurate that dude is with a traditional bow, or actually, I think he was shooting a compound, but with no sights. It was like fully instinctive or something. I don't know what he used to do,
Mhm.
but I remember thinking to myself, that was like the seed of going traditional, and I knew I would eventually do it. Like, this is me at like, as a kid, I was like, oh, I'm gonna eventually be like that. I'm gonna do that. And he was on this Western hunt. I'll never forget this, dude. It was a video I was watching. Like, I, typically don't tune into hunting shows, and because I thought they were stupid. And it was on, and I like sat in, and this dude, he's out west, totally unlike anything that I do. So I'm like, oh, okay, what are we watching here? Like, what is this? And I think it was like not like goats or either goats or what, antelope, maybe antelope
Mhm.
or whatever. But so he's like perched up on the side of this face or whatever, and he's sitting there, and like this like herd of goats comes like tramping through, and they're like on this like real bench of a trail, and they're probably 25 yards, and they come right into him, and he dials back and just and rings this thing, just smokes this goat right 25 yards. Well, that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is now he just heart shot this fucker at 25 yards. The thing turns around and is on his death run and is just, I mean, he's pumping out of both sides.
Mhm.
He casually like knocks another arrow, and this thing like, and I'm like, what the fuck is he? I'm like, is he? And he goes like, he aims up and just sails one, and you just see this thing pumping, and all of a sudden, boom! It just piled it. I was like, what the fuck just happened? I was like, that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Like, it burned
Dang.
in my brain, and I was like, I gotta try and find that video but I remember, that's how I remember it. I'm like, did he just heart shot that thing, knew it was gonna die, and fucking like a savage just smoked it instinctively, like fucking 80 yards down the ridge as it's running away. And I was just like, dude, this dude is nuts.
Jeez,
And
like medieval.
oh, dude, I started looking into some stuff and then I like watched a couple of his videos, and he was like shooting flies with blowguns and was shooting birds out of the air with a recurve. And I never got into it, but I just remember like thinking to myself, like, that's the pinnacle of an art of a bow hunter, right? Like
Mhm.
how could like how could you like to be that in tune with a weapon? Like, dude, that is it's so, I don't know. It stuck with me. So like that's my pursuit of this whole trad thing was like ascending to trad and hoping to one day build that type of accuracy. Will I
Mhm.
use it like hunting? I don't know. Maybe. But like right now it's about right now it's always been about the up close and personal. But yeah, I don't know. That was a
Well, who
side
knows?
tangent
You'll stick an
story, but
arrow. You'll 10 ring a 180 this year, and then as it runs away, you'll just grab it out and just let one fly.
dude, I can't. The crazy thing is, I can't even like fathom that in my head of how you can.
Mm.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but
the speed at which you would have to be able to knock an arrow and then
dude, I
like
can't. I can't explain it. And somebody's probably watching this, like, I seen that video, and that's not what happened at all. But like, dude, that's what I seen. That's what I fucking seen. I'm telling you, it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Like, and I don't know him from Adam. I mean, I think I've met him like once or twice, but like
Mhm.
hats off to him. I know he's a phenomenal archer and hunter, and so
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. And I like what
yeah.
you said there too about like, yeah, not every, especially in this day and age, like one of the pros of like the internet and social media and stuff is like one of the, not every hunting mentor has to be, your dad or your uncle or something like that. There's so much good
Yeah.
information, so many just good stewards of the sport and stuff like that. Like as you were talking about that, like Donnie Vincent's someone who's been coming to mind for me, a lot lately, and just like his ethos and kind of the way he approaches outdoor pursuits and stuff like that, man. It's just it's
Oh,
cool
dude,
shit.
I love that guy, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to just talk with him, kind of, over the years now. I mean, yeah, it's actually been quite a few years, I think, now that I was actually on the phone with him, or I was texting him when I seen a few years back, maybe 4 years ago or something. I killed this big clean eight coming out of he was scent checking a bedding area, and I was talking to I was texting Donnie at that time about something, I don't know, whatever. Like and and it got to this point because I think we had got connected off of somebody mutual, and I had seen his stuff and was really resonated with it. And for somebody who doesn't follow any hunting content, like this is now coming to today's date. Like that was back then. There was no
Hmm.
social media. I didn't watch any shows, but
Right.
now to today's day and age, like that was somebody I immediately gravitated to, especially when so like I think used to be with Sitka or something, but he ditched camo and like started going like more bare root. And when we both kind of went traditional at the same time, like he was doing the same. So we were on these like parallel tracks, and I
Hmm.
remember like his way with words, dude, like it hit me here, like with the hunting and how he explains it and how he tells these stories. And I was like, I it really inspired me. So anyway, we got to talking, and I remember I was on the phone with him, or I was texting him that morning. I was like, dude, and I sent him a picture. I was like, oh, I just let this one go. Or I was like, I could have probably squeezed a shot, but I'm like, what do you think? And I sent him a picture, and he was like, oh my God. He's like, I think that's incredible. And I was like, and I was like, man, I think this deer, I think I need to go after this deer or something along those lines. And he's like, and I remember I sort of called my shot. I was like, hey, I was like, I'm going to sneak up this ridge. I think he's going to pop back out tonight and probably scent check this bedding area that's just over the way there. Like just because that's the way he was acting, it was
Hmm.
coming up on Halloween. He was getting squirrel like, and just what he did. I'm like, so I snuck in there with a straight east wind on the top of this ridge. And I remember even talking to him as I was going in there. I was running late, and and that buck came just like played the script like to a T. Comes out, comes right, comes right along with me, and I shoot him at like 15 yards, not even right after he clears me. So he was coming straight onto me, and then just walked right by. And as soon as I had that quartering way shot, I buried it right in his other shoulder. And I remember calling him, or I think I did like a FaceTime with him or something, and with a deer on the ground, and he was like, holy shit. He's like, is that buck from this morning? Like you moved in on him and killed him. I was like, yeah, I told you I was going to go hunt that. And it was just cool, man. It was cool to be able to like bounce stuff back off with him, because I didn't
Totally.
realize dude, he's like a whitetail nut.
Hmm.
Like you see, I seen all this stuff, and I was like, oh, he's probably like, yeah, he hunts whitetail, but like he's hunting caribou and he's elk and he's moose
Yeah.
and he's
Why
what
would he
he's
bother with whitetail?
well, yeah, I'm thinking like he's probably one of those like worldly like, and then after talking with him, he's like he was telling me about how whitetail was his favorite thing by far and like his passion, and I'm like, oh shit, that's so cool. And but yeah, man, he's like hats off to him, dude. What he's doing, and the way he talk about being a steward, and I just love what he puts out, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Totally, dude. Let me ask you this. What direction do you see hunting going in the next couple of decades here? What do you think it
The
looks
wrong
like? I know you've got kids that, are starting to reach the age of getting out in the woods and everything. Like in 10, 20 years, what do you think
uh,
hunting's going to look like?
I think it's going in the wrong direction, big time. It's scary. I don't like what it's doing. I don't like what's been happening with it. I hope that's not the case. I hope there's going to be some intervention here at some point in time.
Hmm.
Um, I can't even fathom what 20 years looks like on the same trajectory. Like I think we're so close to people killing deer with drones that it's fucking stupid. And or it's like it's I don't know. This is a point of it's a passionate point for me. It's kind of what the whole dying breed bow hunter thing started from, or what it stemmed from. And a lot of people thought it was kind of like a trad movement, but it's not at all. It's a hunting movement. It's keeping hunting and what it
Right.
is at its core, and woodsmanship, and the soul food that you get from it. And I think see, I have lived through this right now, so like I'm not an old head. I'm not a young guy. Like I'm in that cusp here to where I've seen it, man. I've seen it happen. I've seen technology enter into this field and increasingly just take over in the last I'm trying I don't know how many years I put a year on it, maybe 15 years maybe
Hmm.
or like I'd say really hard probably in the last 15 years. And, you know, if you take, let's say, a 20-year time span of, let's say 20 years ago, the first trail cameras probably ish, or like the first couple. So let's say 25 years ago, no cameras, no, now to like, look at what bows were 25 years ago. Fast forward to now, we are actively surveillancing hunting properties with cameras that are sending real-time feed to our phone, and we're moving around the woods hunting these deer by not even by zero woodsmanship whatsoever.
Right.
Like I mean, and not in all cases, but and we're holding crossbows when we're not disabled that are, or we're shooting sights that aim for us. I just like we're down a slippery slope here. I mean, there's drone services that will literally scan your property throughout the course of a year, use thermal imaging, and give you a report of where your deer bed at all times of years, where the herd moves. They give you pictures, I mean, like, what are we doing here? Where are
Right.
we going? Like it, to me, this is just moving further and further away from like what this actually is. And in order for us to get the true benefit of what this is, which is like connecting to our primal roots, and a guy like Donnie could probably paint this in a way better picture, but you can't do it like that. It doesn't have the
Right.
same impact. It doesn't have the same impact, man. I think this is a system of layers, man. We gotta, like, that's why I've preached that about stripping away the layers and getting as close to this as possible. Because I mean, if it comes to a point, like, how long before we're digitally killing deer?
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how close it is, but I know it's getting dangerous, man. I mean, we're there. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
No,
I
totally,
think,
dude. I mean, I
I
think
think, I
like,
think we're
how is
heading
it?
in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and like, how do you get satisfaction and fulfillment out of, you say you have a drone come in, you know exactly where that hammer beds and like what he does on all the, like, rather than like the satisfaction of like a process of figuring out and like learning your own property and figuring out like playing the wind just right and timing up your hunt and everything, and like then finally like everything comes together and like it all works
Well,
out. Like,
see,
it can't be
yeah.
rewarding. Just walk in and
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, we live in a different time,
Mhm.
and a deer on the ground means something different to most people nowadays, which is unfortunate. And I think it means the image of the deer on the ground,
Mhm.
and the grip and grin, which, don't get me wrong, I love grip and grins. I'm all about it, man. That was like, but it was like, it was a means to an end, man. It was a grind to get there. And
Yeah.
that was the reward. The trophy was what you put in all that hard work to get, and what you grinded for, and now it's like, it's, it's like, it's just different, right? So, in watching, like, like the consumerism, I guess, take hold of the industry, and on one hand, I'm like, oh, what a genius person who makes this site that aims for you, because every fucking Joe Schmo is going to want one. Everybody's going to pay whatever it costs to get one, because they want that notch up. They want that one thing that's going to make them closer to getting that buck of a lifetime that they've only seen in their dream, or whatever, or if it lets them shoot farther, or, and I've seen it happen in all fronts. And another thing that really gets me is like this whole, like, even the scent thing, dude. You want to talk about smart people capitalizing on dumb people. This whole scent shit, this whole, I mean, oh my God. But I mean, so I look at it on one end, and scent doesn't. This is not. Well, I guess you could loop this into technology, because let's look at ozonics, or look at like an
Right.
ozone
Yep.
machine. Oh, okay. Well, like, we need to, another way that technology is encroaching in the space to help us eliminate our scent. Now, I won't get into the fact that it's a scam, um, and that it's just it's just selling hunters something. And honestly, my take on that is, it's probably going to put you at a disadvantage because it's going to make your system more clunky, more shit to take, more shit to set up, more movement in the tree. Like people don't look at it like that. They're just like, oh, well, if this helps me not get smelled at one time, it's a win. No, it's not. And you're not in a vacuum. So like, yeah, like ozone works. It does. Like I guess like it does kill scent molecules, but that's not going to cover up your scent in the field. It's just a
Right.
marketing thing. And um, but yeah, there's just I don't know. So so to answer your question, it's like yeah, I don't. Are people fulfilled when they go and use a live action camera or hardwired camera to kill a buck? Like, are they jacked when they kill it? Yeah, but I don't think they know anything different to compare it to. Like I guarantee you, if that same guy went and hunted a buck down in the mountains and killed him, and like that deer would mean not even a fraction of what the other one meant to him, and it wouldn't have done what it does for him mentally and spiritually for sure. Whether you're aware of that or not, it's a thing, and I don't know how much like we can get into semantics there of how much that robs the fulfillment, but
No,
I
dude. I mean, I
guess
think it.
it's what you're
Sorry,
in
go
it
ahead.
for, I guess. No,
Yeah.
I'm
No.
just
Totally. No. It kind of like we talked about earlier. Being willing to blow up the engine and being willing to delay that satisfaction and not just snap your fingers and have like because even I mean shit like it sucks to say but like you run an SD cam versus a cell cam like the anticipation to check that SD card
well,
over just opening the app on your phone like it's significantly
well,
higher let alone when you actually get eyes on what's going
yeah.
on but I don't know.
See, this is this can get tricky, I think,
Mhm.
because you could argue a little bit of the opposite, and this is where I think like it doesn't maybe all need to be black and white, but to an extent, it is human nature to find an easier path. Like that's why like we as people like we avoid harder shit. Like
Mhm.
we do. Whether we're the toughest motherfucker out there, we still avoid it. Like I don't like when you before you get in that cold plunge, like oh you don't want to do it. You really don't. Like but you're making yourself do it. It's so I think it's the natural progression of us and human nature to make things that are going to make that job easier, to make better weapons, to make in technology comes in and it's a huge arm. It's like, well, technology lets us do all sorts of things outside of the hunting field that like would would otherwise be just stupid to still be doing them. Like look at like if we
Mhm.
planted fields by hand, like just to get the just to do it like we used to, well that'd be stupid. But I don't believe I don't. It's less connected to the to what this is in this niche of a pastime that I think needs to be preserved in a way that it once was because we can all argue, or like you could argue too, that we don't need to do this at all. It's a this
Mhm.
is a it's a it's a I don't know how you'd want to put it, but we're not hunting for food. Like we can survive without the pursuit of this. There's conservation, topics and there's all sorts of reasons why we do it. But you could argue that we don't need to, right? And I just think that this is a one of those gray areas where, I don't care that you're shooting the $3,000 bow, like with all this gadgets and like gizmo, whatever. But I mean, or even if you're hunting with a high powered rifle, like there's plenty of guys out there who are hitting it hard and still keeping the spirit of the hunt and hunting
Totally.
with those new age weapons. Like it's not about hunting with an atlatl. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just
Mhm.
saying where do we where do we draw the line of where technology is creeping in and completely like what would you call it? I guess there's an ethics debate there of like the playing field is so not level at all. Like like it's I don't know. I mean, shit.
Like
Think
the
about
fair
this.
chase argument kind of like
Well,
there's so
dude,
much.
there was rules back in. You couldn't even hunt with a walkie-talkie back in the day. Like
Right.
that was literally a rule because it was said to be unethical because I could communicate with you. pierced on the other side of my property and tell you when the deer, that was unethical. Like
Mhm.
on a fucking highly thing, right? Like that was very unethical. The communication between hunters. That's why you couldn't have any communication device, you know? Well, now we're all walking around with walkie-talkies in our pockets. We got cell phones. Not only that, we're sending drones out and like we're live surveillancing deer that's sending us real-time information and allowing us to go kill them. If a walkie-talkie is unethical, for me to give you a heads up that a deer might be coming in your direction, how in the hell is a cell camera, a live time feed, ethical?
Right.
I mean, I'm just proposing the question. Like I'm just like
Mhm.
whatever. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I'm just
Totally.
looking at, and you could argue the fact that like, well, I don't think that a walkie-talkie was ever unethical. Okay, but what I'm getting at is there is a line. There's a
Mhm.
line, and we're approaching ever so quickly, and so yeah, I don't know.
No, I think it's good. The states that are starting to clamp down on the use of cell cameras, at least on public land, or that are at least in, because I mean technology accelerates at such a crazy fast speed these days, right? Like that's like you said, like 20 years from now, who knows what we're gonna have, what technology we have? Because like, hey, we've got, it's kind of like the old Jetsons thing of like, the meals are going to come in pill form and stuff like that. Like, well, look at how many damn supplements we've got now, and like all this,
Yeah.
different powders and different supplements and all that kind of stuff. Not that they're not good, but like, we look at talking to robots. Well, okay, robots are kind of here right now. Like they're in the factories, they're in our phones, they're in our computers. Like, okay,
Mhm.
so where do we start to actually draw the line and like figure out, okay, how do we keep 20 years from now from being out of hand to a point where like either the point of hunting is gone and we lose the sport altogether, or which not to not to sound all doomsday, because I don't think we'll actually get there, but it's just, yeah, states that are checking themselves, at least I think is a good place to start, and at least encouraging for what the future might hold. But who knows, man?
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's a rabbit hole topic right there,
Oh, I
man.
know,
There's
dude. Yeah.
there's 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 so much that could drive from that, but
Totally, dude. We'll reel back in from going down that rabbit hole then, man. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but dude, we've got our season opener coming up this Saturday as we're recording this here in Wisconsin. I know Iowa opens on October 1st. What are you looking at as you kick off? I know you don't run cameras or anything like that, but dude, when it gets into getting boots on the ground, and actually starting to get after it, what are you doing to find deer in the early season?
so I think it's so what it'll this will depend on usually where my targets are. So if my
Sure.
and what I mean about targets is like my target pieces of property that I'm going to start with.
Mhm.
If it was if it was a new piece of property that I just acquired or that I might not know too much about, I'm definitely going to do a little bit more aggressive scouting on that piece. It's going to start off um definitely road glassing if I can get eyes on these areas, if there's any open terrain, that'll be a big part of it. I've gotten just great intel in the past of even driving the surrounding, you know, 5-10 miles of a piece just to get an idea, see deer, see movement. So if I can get eyes on there and I can do some active glassing, I think that's super beneficial. On a daily basis, prime time, morning, night, it'll give you a key in on where the herds are going, or the majority of the deer are focusing and feeding. And so I like to start with that.
Are there
Um,
specific types of fields? Like, are you looking bean fields,
s-
alfalfa? Is there anything that's a
yeah.
specific
So,
big magnet
really,
for you?
I'll take whatever I can get that's in proximity to the ground I'm hunting. But
Sure.
yes, but certain things are like, before the beans turn and they're changed. Like if the beans are all dead and yellow, like I'm not going to focus too much on those.
Sure.
Alfalfa is a huge early source where you see them a lot. Hay strips in between big cuts of corn or anything bordering corn. Like if they're living in the corn, they might be popping out. It's harder to see in corn though. So really, that's an opportunistic type thing. Like if I whatever's in the area that I can get eyes on. And it may not be all great and glassable, and sometimes it's awesome, right? Like you might have a little secluded hayfield that you can just see a little glimpse of, or if you can even hike to those spots and set up like well out of invasive distance and put eyes on field edges. And if you got that time to burn, that's like huge to get those pieces of information. Um, and then based off of there is when I'll start to try and dive in and do some more specific scouting per se. Like I'll start to see how those transition areas, like leading out to those food sources, play out. If it's a property that I have not really familiarized myself with, I will definitely get in there at least once before the season kicks off to download like data internally in my head, as far as just like lay of the land, how things are, how things look, access, things like that. If it's a place I'm more familiar with, like I've hunted in the past, I won't even mess with it. I won't do a whole lot of preliminary scouting like weeks before. But
Mhm.
like right now, coming up, like let's say it's Wisconsin and we're gonna hit the opener, like I would like that day before opener, I would do a really hard scouting session, and to get a really good idea of where the action's happening currently at this time, and then start from there. Because I really like to, I try to do less invasive scouting until I can capitalize on the information that I find, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
more of an advocate for infield scouting versus or in season scouting. Aside from getting the lay of the land. So, and then from there, then when I'm doing those scoutings, I'm gonna based off of if I get any information from the outside, right? So like if I'm seeing anything, like if I glassed a buck and he was a potential target, that's obviously going to change. I would probably hone into that quadrant, scope that quadrant kind of with a minimally invasive procedure. As soon as then I would dive in, maybe figure out, okay, where the logical transitions are to that thing. Okay, where's the secondary food source inside the timber? Where do I think he might be bedded? And not get like balls to the wall trying to go bump him out of his bed, but like just trying to get the lay of the land a little bit and figure out a logical ambush point as like a first starting point. And then I'll slowly work in from there. If I don't get that piece of information, like don't see that buck out in the field, or see a potential target, that's when I'll start to try and identify some maybe potential food sources inside the timber, like some oaks or maybe water, depending on heat or where we're at and what the land looks like, or logical transitions from like major bedding to major food, or like generally speaking. Um, Usually, though, I would say nine times out of 10, even with no information, no intel on a visual standpoint, nothing beats a good walkout, good scouting session, because that's going to give you your best starting point based off of the freshest sign you see, and then working in from there and just systematically be keeping on the move, for those first few days during season. So that would probably be it in a nutshell, I think.
Totally, dude. No, I like it. That makes sense, man. And are there any specific types of sign that gets you really fired up? Like, are you keying in on those early rubs, that first or second, those or scrapes that are starting to creep open, or is it more find that big track
So,
and that shit, it's on now?
I think, yeah, I think I'm more. I don't worry as much. Like I'll take those into account. Don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
Like if I see some big shredded up trees, and I know that, maybe, it depends if that type of sign lines up with the bigger picture, I get excited about
Sure.
it. If it
Yeah, totally.
doesn't, then so for instance, there's been openers where I found I can think of this little pond that I scouted that it was shredded. It was so shredded. And I'm like, oh my God, this looks awesome. But like in hindsight, it was shredded from a week prior when, this buck was, maybe there's a cold snap. He was putting velvet on, whatever. Like in that, and then turns out like that buck was nowhere in that area by the time I was actually able to start hunting him. And like, gauging off freshness of rubs and stuff like that. Like I knew they weren't really fresh, but they didn't really line up with the bigger picture of what I was seeing for sign wise. Like, and
Sure.
it was so I think if those things line up, like if there's a hammer rub 60 yards off of an acorn flat that's getting hit hard, like that's good. Like that's awesome. Like, cause
Hmm.
that's like more of a, a direct indication of a travel route for that buck to that flat, ideally that acorn flat. Um, but so I think in general, I don't get fired up really about the scrapes as of yet. I mean, I know weather dependent too. Like a cold snap will you get a good enough cold snap and you could have 20 scrapes light up in a night.
Right.
So and that's kind of hit or miss. I think I like to fall back on just very basic food to bedding early. Like, because what even cold snap aside, when we're talking opener and we're talking early, these are patternable deer that are on a pattern that are doing the same thing right now. Like odds are all these target bucks we're all after, they're on a pattern right now. They're not nothing's crazy, nothing's sporadic. They got probably a primary food source they're hitting at this time, and they got probably a secondary food source they're hitting. And whether they're betting right there on those food sources or they're betting far, like the tough part about the beginning of the season is that travel and that transition may not be big. It may not be like, you know what I mean? Like they may not
Hmm.
be spanning this great distance where you can easily sneak in and intercept them. They might be hanging out, like they might be living in the corn, literally popping out of the corn to feed on some acorns on the edge of an oak flat right in the timber and then out of there by the time you even get in there the hunt type thing. So I think I definitely think food source transition um is probably the my main target. Yeah.
Totally, dude. I like that you mentioned like deer living in the corn too, because like it's so easy for us to fall into the trap of like, well, here's what I see in the woods where I can, where I can hunt and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, and then trying to build a picture based just off of that when that buck might, like you said, could be super close by, just laying 10 rows deep in the cornfield.
Oh
That's
yeah.
and that's yeah, it's
And
a tricky game.
and
I don't know.
dude, that'll pull the wool over too, man, because they'll pop out of that corn and they'll run a bottom and shred it up. Or they'll leave all that sign like that buck's coming in and out, which he is coming in and out of the bottom, but
Hmm.
he's back in the corn before you're ever there and you're hunting that bottom or you're hunting that edge and you never see him and you're thinking like, oh shit, what the hell's going on? Well, you're sort of in the wrong spot. It's like um but they like the corn. They feel secure in there. It's so safe for them. And a lot of those big ones hold up in that corn until they're pushed out when it's cut. you know.
Hmm.
And honestly, that's one of my favorite times too to hit the nearby timbers. Is like right after it's cut. Well, for one, obviously they hit those fields and they'll be feeding in them, but where they post up is usually like it's like they're like if you find them right when they first get that transition to the timber, it's like the timbers are pushed and they're all full of deer, like all
Right.
these deer that were out of there. And it can be some really hot hunting time for those first 3 or 4 days because like they're all kind of just falling into a new rhythm.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah, trying
see
to
a lot
find
of
their own spots
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
see a lot of action, a lot of movement.
Totally, dude. I love it, man. Well, dude, I've got two more questions for you. The second to last one's a little heady. I mean, kind of danced around it a little bit. What motivates you at this point in your hunting career?
Ah, man. I think I think this ties into everything we've talked about. And
Hmm.
the motivation for me is doing things like my way especially in in staying true to what I believe this should be, instead of kind of falling victim to the mainstream, um the mainstream tycoon, I guess. I don't know what you'd want to call it,
Mhm.
but I just, I've always just wanted to be the best hunter that I could be, right? And to like, and as a kid, like, I want to be the greatest bow hunter of all time. Like, like it was, and that drove me and motivated me to just work harder at it and just do it and do it and do it and do it and get the reps in, and over and over and over. And I'm still, and then it evolved from wanting to be the best bow hunter ever to, okay, now and I used to see that in a lens of just deer that were on the ground. And I would see
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, well, this guy is better. Well, then I realized like there's ways to do this. And like there's a lot of people out there that kill great deer and that are like, and the way they're doing it is not the, to each their own, but like I've always been pretty firm in my values about like the way that it should be done. Even when I was using trail cameras, like I've never used cell cameras. Like me personally, like when they started to go to cell is when I bailed on them. But I was using regular cameras for a while. But even when I was doing that, like there's things I just wouldn't do. Like a good logical hunt. Well, hey, why don't you just go put up a tower blind there that's completely scent proof and have your way with this corner? I'm just like, why would I do that? Like what?
Mhm.
Well, okay, like I just no, I'm not going to do it like that. Like I don't want it that way, And to know nothing against anybody that's using tower blinds and ground blinds and stuff like that, but I guess, man, I what motivates me is being the best I can be and doing it my way, I guess. And staying true to that.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
it's cool hearing now because I never looked at myself as somebody who had any like, I think it's weird when I meet people and they're like, "Oh man, I love what you do. I appreciate what you do, or look up to you." That it's always been, because I just thought, I'm like, dude, I'm just literally a guy who likes to hunt. Like, there's I'm not curing cancer or anything. But I do think there's value, and I really appreciate it, and it motivates me and drives me when I see people out in the wild and they're like, "Hey, what you're doing changed my perspective on it," and like it pushed me to do this, or be better in this regard, or like, or hunt harder, and like that jacks me up, because like it's, if I can help people, and I think my motivation has shifted a little bit more to service than it ever has been, and I do get a kick out of that. Like,
Mhm.
one of my favorite things is when people come back a year after coming to the roadshow, and they're like, first thing they're doing is they got their phone. They're ready to show me a picture, and they're like, dude, I hunted 2 sticks off the ground and I did this, and like, dude, look, my biggest buck to date, and like that jacks me up. So um it motivates me to help people, but really it's about doing things my way.
Dude, I love it, man. That, that I don't even know what I was gonna say there, dude. That's just like
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
feel like we could just like end it right there, man. Because like mic drop. That's yeah.
Maybe a weird answer. I don't know. It might
No,
be
dude, not at all.
unorthodox,
Not
but
at all. Not at all, man. Because I mean, you are a dude that a lot of folks are drawing their like turning their attention towards to because I think a lot of people are fed up with the corporate hunting industry pushing things down their throat, and then they're still not killing deer. They're not figuring things out, and like I think a lot of folks are looking for something more and looking to like figure out, okay, how can I actually become better, dude? And I think you're leading the charge, the whole dying breed bow hunter thing. And man, like I myself have learned a ton just from listening to your other podcasts and chatting with you and stuff like that, man. So I you're right up there with Donnie, man. You're a hell of a steward of the sport, and I mean, don't stop what you're doing here because it's pretty sick, man. But dude, we've been
uh,
going for almost 2 hours, and man, this has been absolutely fantastic, dude. Like I can't thank you enough for your time, and being willing to come on the show, and especially for you and Lone Wolf being a partner of the show and running our title sponsor spot there. And dude, we're proud to have you on board. And man, I learned a ton just from chatting with you right now, and I know our listeners did as well, dude. So good luck this fall, and man, I look forward to seeing some big deer hit the ground.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's been awesome. It's been awesome talking, and I am ready, man. It's about go time here, so uh, we'll definitely we'll definitely be hitting it hard.
Absolutely, dude. Well, good luck, and yeah, folks listening, we'll talk to you on Tuesday.